What's up, my kings, queens, and trolls of YouTube? This is your girl, Queen C, and today's video is about people who allow their significant others to physically discipline their children. What I want to know is, what in the entire hell are you thinking? When I had my daughter, her father and I established that he would not physically discipline our daughter unless it was absolutely a must. And he did everything in his power to not have to ever physically discipline our daughter. He said he was not comfortable with hitting our daughter because she was a girl and she did not want her to grow up thinking that it was okay for a man to hit her. Now, of course, she's his daughter. He loves her, but he didn't feel comfortable as a man. He felt as though, and I agreed, that the sound of his voice was enough to make her behave. And actually it was. And the same thing applied to me as a little girl with my father. I think my father spanked me maybe a total of 2 times. And let me tell y'all something. I was a stubborn ass little girl. I was spoiled and I was stubborn. So I remember my dad spanking me one time because I showed my ass in church. And then I remember him spanking me one time because he was watching me and I was young and he had to get dressed and he didn't want me to be wandering around the house and he couldn't keep an eye on me. So he told me to sit down and to keep my back turned and don't turn around while he got dressed for work. And I turned around and I saw my dad's butt and he spanked me for not listening to him. But that was the 2 times ever in my life. And my ex-husband, he never once put his hands on my daughter. When I started dating and I met my current husband, we established that I will be the only one to ever physically discipline my daughter. Because number one, that's not her biological father. And number two, again, she's a young lady, and why would I allow a man coming into my life that she is aware is not her biological father to put his hands on her? I don't understand why people do this shit. You are sending your children a very messed up message when you allow people to come in and out of their lives and put their hands on your children. You know, your daughters have to have these uncle daddies come in and then they want to straight discipline them. You know, at one point in time, there was a little girl. She had said to me that her mom's boyfriend slapped her across the face. And I had tried to talk to this woman and it was to no avail. She didn't give a fuck. You know, she stayed with this man that slapped her daughter across the face. Now, this man was not her father. This little girl was old enough and it was clear that this man was not her father. This little girl did not feel loved by this man. She didn't feel wanted by this man. And her mother allowed this man to slap her daughter in her face. And for that, she should have gotten her ass beat, because that is disgusting. You are a scumbag when you let some man come into your home and put his motherfucking hands on your daughter. You ain't shit and you are disgusting. Okay? Like, to me, if a man can't come into my home and make my situation better, he has no place there anyway, let alone physically disciplining my daughter. I have a younger daughter now. My husband, he does not want to put his hands on our daughter. He does not feel as though it's necessary. Usually, when children hear their father speak, they listen. If you're a man and your child hears you speak, they listen. Moms, sometimes we got to talk and cut them that side eye. Like, I know you hear me talking to you. But we can handle the physical discipline to our biological children if it's necessary. If it's necessary. But there are such things as punishment. Take away TV, phone, iPad, iPod, whatever it is that your child's vices that they like to do. You can't go outside and play. You can't ride your bike. There are other forms of punishment and discipline. So if you are with somebody and they have been given the authority to discipline your children, let them take away a privilege or something like that if it's necessary. But don't be letting these people come up in your house and put their fucking hands on your babies, and then when y'all break up, you got to get somebody else new, and then they come in the house with the same bullshit, because that's not right. You should not allow nobody to just be physically disciplining your kids. I don't give a damn who he is. I don't care who he is. If it's not the child's biological parent, you do not let them put their hands on your child. How would you feel if, as a woman, you send your daughter to go stay with her dad and she comes back and the stepmom slapped her across the face? You wouldn't like it. How would you feel as a man if you sent your son to go stay with the mom and her boyfriend, and the boyfriend punched him because he wouldn't take out the trash? You wouldn't like it. So if you wouldn't feel comfortable with your ex's new boo or whatever putting their hands on your child, you shouldn't feel comfortable enough to give somebody permission to put their hands on y'all's child. That's not right. And I see a lot of women trying to justify that. Well, if he can take care of my child and he can put food on the table, he can hit him and he can do what he got to do because they're going to listen to him. No, that is your job. That's your job to sit your child down, explain to your child the new dynamics of y'all's environment, and that they have to listen and respect Mr. Such and Such, okay? That is for you to establish, but you should not give Mr. Such and Such a free pass to beat your child's ass, because the fact of the matter is, you don't know where it comes from. You can assume you know where it comes from, but in your heart of hearts and in your mind, you don't know where that ass whooping is coming from. And before I would, people think, oh, they love my child. I know they love my child. They love me. My child is an extension of me. They love my child. You can think that all you want. But because you're not that person, you don't know where it's coming from. You don't know where that ass whooping is coming from. And before I let somebody beat my child and not know where that ass whooping is coming from, if it's coming out of love or if it's coming out of the fact that they can't stand my child, I'm not gambling. I'm not gambling with the safety and well-being of my child. My daughters will never come back to me and say, Mom, our relationship is scarred because you let your boyfriends beat me. You know what I mean? I'll never allow my children to do that. And when these kids get older, they are going to remember that you let some motherfucker come up in your house and put their hands on them. They're going to remember that, and they are going to resent you for that. And if you're lucky, your child will be smart enough to not allow it to happen to them in their relationships. If you're lucky. And your child will still love you if you're lucky. But if my mom had allowed one of her boyfriends to put their hands on me, I probably would hate her guts for the rest of her natural ass life. Because to me, that is absolutely disgusting and it's wrong. If they did not conceive that child, they should not be putting their hands on that child. And if you got a problem with the fact that you are helping a woman out and y'all are together and you provide and you do all this, that's par for the course. So you have that woman, of course that child is going to eat and they're going to utilize what you're bringing to the table. But that does not mean that you should have a free pass to whoop their fucking asses because you don't like something that they did. Because you might whoop their ass for something that their other parent would never whoop them for. So if you have a problem and that child is being disrespectful to you, you should have only two choices. And that is to be man enough or woman enough to speak to that parent, speak to their other parent if necessary, or, like I said, take their privileges away. But what you need to do is make sure that you communicate with that parent instead of putting your hands on somebody else's child. Because putting your hands on somebody else's child could lead your ass to an ass whooping. And I know if it was my child, we would be fighting. So my ex-husband, if you watch this video and you plan on, getting married, having a relationship, or whatever it is you do, you better make sure that heifer knows not to fuck with my daughter. Because if she fucks with my daughter, I'm gonna fuck with her. Okay? Now, that's the end of this video. It's getting late. I'm tired. Don't forget to subscribe to me. And I want to say peace from the Sea Hive. And if you have any questions for me, you can always email me at the queenkrishanda@gmail.com. queenkrishanda@gmail.com. Peace, guys.